Susan went to visit her friend, but noticed something unusual from the first moment she entered his home, yet she made a mistake. Let's see how things went. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future updates. Enjoy. "Tomorrow I finally start my holidays," Tyler exclaimed with a contagious smile as he prepared his infusion. "I don't have any specific plans. I'll definitely go downtown and maybe invite an old friend here one of these days if that's not a problem for you." Evelyn nodded, feeling honored to have her nephew's company for a few days at her home. The next day, Susan arrived after ringing the doorbell several times and knocking forcefully. She began to wonder if her friend was really at home. Suddenly the door opened, but instead of seeing her friend, she found herself faced with an elderly woman. "Who are you?" the woman asked. Susan was surprised. She didn't know that her friend lived with an elderly woman. "I'm a friend of—" "Speak louder, my dear. My hearing isn't the best," the woman interrupted. "Come in. He hasn't come back yet," continued the old woman, inviting her to come in. So she went in, and the two women sat down in the living room. Susan looked around curiously, observing the environment. She was particularly struck by some photographs, which without hesitation, she started looking at. "These are my relatives, and this is me," the old woman explained, holding up a photo. "None of them are here anymore. Now it's just me and my nephew," she said with a trembling voice. Susan thought about how little her great friend spoke about his parents, only now realizing that he was an orphan. So the two started chatting. The older woman, Evelyn, told Susan that she had been a secretary in a large factory when she was young. It was there that she met her husband, and together with others, they organized concerts and volunteer activities, helping people find the right direction in life. Evelyn also spoke about Tyler's parents, describing them as honest and kind people. They were geologists and lost their lives in a tragic helicopter crash 11 years earlier. Susan, however, told the woman her great desire to adopt a dog, but her nephew was against it, and so she decided not to take that step. Time flew by, and it became rather late. The long meeting between Susan and Evelyn turned into a moment of profound human connection that led them to bond emotionally. The time to say goodbye arrived, and Susan promised to return the following day with a good cake she had made. Do you believe that hospitality and kindness can create deep bonds between strangers, as happened to Susan and grandmother Evelyn? When Tyler returned, Evelyn told him about the visit of a wonderful girl. "A truly lovely girl. If you marry her, I would have special company, and you a truly beautiful wife," said Evelyn. And then she reproached him. Evelyn didn't understand why Tyler had said no to adopting a puppy. "When I asked her if she was really ready to take care of the animal," Tyler explained, "she impulsively replied that if she got tired of him, she would take him to a kennel. This made me think that she was impatient and a no good," Tyler said, becoming sad, explaining that from that day on, she became so offended that she distanced herself from him. The fact that Susan stopped by to visit him by surprise made Tyler think that perhaps his friend wasn't as superficial as he had thought. So he decided not to call her that evening, but to do something more special for her the following day. In the morning, he got up early, went to the kennel, and after having purchased everything necessary for the puppy, headed towards Susan's house with a little fur baby in tow. It rang, and the door opened. "Have you decided to apologize? You could have bought some roses," Susan said, with a somewhat unhappy expression when she saw Tyler with the dog. "Susan, I think my grandmother misunderstood you yesterday," said Tyler. "You turned out to be very different with her. In fact, she appreciated you a lot, enough to suggest that I marry you." He smiled. "She also told me that the presence of the dog in your life was a strong desire of yours," Tyler added. Susan became strange and wrinkled her face. "Which grandmother?" and then you know that I'm not ready to take care of a dog. And before you ask me to marry you, remember that I'm very pretentious." Tyler was shocked by those words. He felt the desire to reconcile disappear. He took the puppy in his arms and quickly went down the stairs. "Hey, where are you going?" Susan shouted after him, but Tyler didn't turn around. It took him a short time to understand that she and his grandmother had not met the day before. But so, who was the girl who had been hosted by Grandmother Evelyn? If you liked the video, it would be kind of you to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. He didn't know other people named Susan. He was confused. But now, he asked himself, looking at the sweet eyes of that little furry dog. "You'll come with me, don't worry. We'll become great friends," thought Tyler. He arrived at his grandmother's house with the idea of talking to her and clarifying the person he had hosted the day before. He opened the door of the apartment and immediately entered the kitchen. And there, he saw his dear grandmother with a girl unknown to him, chatting amusedly. Evelyn exclaimed, "Well, finally! Tyler, we were waiting for you. And who did you bring?" Tyler froze, looked into the big, surprised eyes of the unknown girl. "Is that you, Susan?" he asked, visibly embarrassed. "Yes, but are you Tyler? Mrs. Evelyn's nephew?" she replied. "Oh, yeah," he replied. "Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I must have got the wrong address." Susan took a piece of paper with the address out of her jeans pocket and handed it to Mrs. Evelyn, who read it and nodded. "You're right, Susan. You were wrong. It says number 64 here, but ours is 64A, confirmed Grandmother Evelyn. "These two houses were built next to each other, so there is always a lot of confusion with the entrances," added Tyler. "But I think it was a lucky mistake. This cake is delicious, and you are a special person, Susan. Tyler will be happy to get to know you better." A few minutes later, Susan and Mrs. Evelyn were petting a furry puppy, while Tyler watched them in disbelief and curiosity at the same time. A few months later, all three were grateful to the builders of those houses. Mickey, as they had called the puppy, and Felix, Susan's kitten, had become great friends. The couple moved a few hundred meters from Grandmother Evelyn's house, and a year after that mistake between Susan and number 64, the two got married. Tyler and his old friend Susan, however, never met again, each continuing on their own path. Have you ever experienced a misunderstanding similar to Susan's that led to a significant change in your life? It would be great if you shared your experience in the comments.